What's up, everybody? Welcome back to RacingDudes.com, and welcome back to our Breeders' Cup coverage here. And today on this video, we're going to kind of take an early look at the Breeders' Cup Classic as it stands right now, and it's really something. I think this race is truly unique this year compared to most years. You know, most years we kind of know the MO of the race. You got the best two or three-year olds. You got then the older handicap division, obviously, and then maybe one maybe random, Japan or European horse coming over to race and we kind of know the drill. It's the olders versus the 3-year-olds and the European horse or the Japan horse. Might run okay, get second like Derma Sotogate, but it's never really threatened to win. This feels completely different. This race this year kind of feels like the Breeders' Cup Turf or the Breeders' Cup Turf Mile, even where it just feels like the international horses and the American horses kind of have an equal chance. So as we sit here, as I record this on October 13th, mind you, we're still 3 weeks away. Let's take a look at it. So the early look here at the Breeders' Cup Classic. And so I'll put it up on the screen as we go. This is from the Breeders' Cup website here. So we'll kind of go through these one by one just a bit. And I'll give you my, current thoughts on what I think is going to happen. Of course, all subject to change. Who knows what horses might get hurt, what horses might decide to run or change races or whatever. So, but I still think it's a fun subject. If you want a full coverage on almost every single Breeders' Cup race at this point, go check out the Blinkers Off podcast. You can find it on YouTube. You find it anywhere you find podcasts. We kind of had a full discussion on it, but I wanted to break it down, go right to the classic. So the first horse we'll talk about is Fierceness. Of course, horse won the Travers, won the Jim Dandy, also won the Florida Derby earlier in the season, and is a horse that, when he's at his best, is very tough to beat. We've seen it. He's an all or nothing type. He either wins or he finishes off the board. He's had 3 races that weren't very good, to put it lightly. We're not going to rehash his issues, his problems. But at the end of the day, this is a horse when he fires is very, very tough. So Fierceness, he's in the first horse you talk about. He'll likely be right there first or second choice with the horse right to his right if you're looking at the screen right now, and that is City of Troy. And City of Troy, of course, a horse that's done all his running on the turf. He is primarily a turf horse running over in Europe for Aidan O'Brien. But the horse is by Justify. They've said since he was a 2-year-old last year, hey, he needs to run on the dirt. We really think he's going to be good on the dirt. We think his best surface will be the dirt. We've heard this a lot, right? So now we're going to see it. We're going to see what happens. He is going to come over here. It was announced that this will be his last race. He'll go off to stud after this race as well. So, you have Fierceness, and he has that unknown of, will he show up with his best race? It's starting to kind of feel like maybe he's getting over that, but it's a question mark. And then you've got the biggest question mark, I think, of the whole thing. You got City of Troy, a horse from Europe, has never raced on the dirt, is going to try it for the very first time. He's also a 3-year-old facing older horses on the dirt as well. That's another challenge that I feel like people aren't talking about. Not only is he going to try turf to dirt, he's a 3-year-old facing older horses as well, just like Fierceness. So a lot of question marks. However, the thing that's not a question mark about City of Troy is the talent. It is immense. It is fantastic. And his last race was really, really strong. His last race, he proved he can get on the lead. And I think he needs to be, if not on the lead, closer to the lead than not. I think stalking the pace a couple lengths behind, that'd probably be about perfect. But I don't think he needs to be an 8th up the backside. I just don't think that's going to work for him. So these are your 2 horses that will be the first and second choices in the race. Most likely, we'll talk about one other horse that might get up there. But these are definitely 2 of the top 3 in odds as far as the morning line and when the off odds that I think are going to be. There's so many question marks about him, but their talent is immense. Let's keep going down the list. Forever Young. That's the horse that also could jump up. Maybe he's the second choice. I could see a world where he's the first choice. I'm thinking more second or third choice. Of course, this is a horse that was undefeated going into the Kentucky Derby, had been racing internationally, came to the Kentucky Derby, horrific trip, gets third, just barely loses. It looked like he was going to get it done and just didn't. He's only had 1 start since then. It came a couple of weeks ago. It was a really good prep over in Japan for this. So he looks to be in great form. Forever Young. That's the other one. But again, I in a weirdest way, he probably has less question marks than City of Troy or Fierceness coming into the race. And I say that because this horse does seem to bring it every time. Just that one loss, it was a really tough loss. His other races have all been wins. So Forever Young, I definitely think he's going to be up there in the top 3 in odds. Let's keep going down the list here, and let's go to Sierra Leone next. A horse that I really think can compete in this, and he's had trouble winning races because of that running style, but also I really thought he ran his 2 best races of the season up at Saratoga. He got beat by Fierceness, a horse that he's never going to beat if Fierceness, quite frankly, if Fierceness fires his best race, because he's so far ahead of him. And he also got beat by Torpedo Anna in the Travers. Well, I mean, Torpedo Anna and Fierceness, they're the 2 leading candidates for Horse of the Year right now. Sierra Leone was really competitive with them. I think he actually got better during the summer up at Saratoga, but the results didn't show for him, unfortunately. But I do think he ran 2 really good races. I think he's capable of coming here and run another good race again. I don't think he's going to win, but he definitely is a very good horse. So keep a lookout for, of course, Sierra Leone. He's probably going to be the 4th choice. Highland Falls, this horse training up to the Breeders' Cup here. Of course, last time out, won the Jockey Club Gold Cup at Saratoga in upset fashion. And this Brad Cox trainee has jumped up and ran big races in the past. Keep going down the list here. Subsondador, he's not going to run. They need to take him off the website. Subsondador injured. He is out. Ushpa Tesoro, who finished 2nd in the race last year. I'm sorry. He did not finish 2nd in the race last year, but he was in the race last year. We'll talk about the horse that finished 2nd, but he was in the race last year. Internationally, this horse is obviously well known, winning many of the big races internationally. Came back and ran a pretty good prep race for this a few weeks ago. So he's no stranger to the big circuit and the big scene. And the Japanese are coming with a lot of horses at the Breeders' Cup. And of course, we'll have the final number in a couple of weeks, but it's going to be double digits that they bring over. And he's a world-class horse. So you have to keep an eye out on him. This is the point of the show where I think it gets a little bit tricky, because what about Arthur's Ride, who's listed on the website here next? Arthur's Ride is a horse that at his absolute best might be the best horse we have in this country on the dirt. Well, when you look at what he did in the Whitney, that was pretty amazing. And I don't really think we have a horse that can beat him if he runs that type of race. Now, the problem is he's wildly inconsistent as well. He came back to the Jockey Club Gold Cup and didn't run a step. And I was standing there on the rail that day. I watched him in the paddock. I watched him from the paddock bar there at Saratoga as he went to the track, and he looked like he was definitely ready. He looked amazing in the flesh, and he just didn't show up. So he does that. Think back. He ran in an allowance race during a Kentucky Derby weekend. I can't remember if this is the Oaks or the Derby day. He ran on the undercard, like a 3rd race, 2nd race maybe. He was nowhere. He didn't run at all. And then he came back and put together, back to back, just amazing races up at Saratoga, and then didn't show up again. But if he shows up, it's going to do 2 things to this race. It's going to put pace into the race without any doubt. And it's going to take a horse that's on the lead at Del Mar and doesn't really stop when he gets on the lead and he fires. So he's very interesting in what I think will be a decent enough price. Keep on going to some of the longer shots. Tap at Trice, a horse that is 2 for 3 this year. Picked up a win at Monmouth Park, picked up a win at Belmont at the Big A last time out, and didn't run very well in that Jockey Club Gold Cup there at Saratoga. But we know what he is. He's going to be back there with Sierra Leone, and maybe not that far back, but he's going to try to make a run at the end. And if they kind of stop enough for him, I think he can win it. But is he a realistic candidate to win a race like this? Probably not. Newgate, again, another horse I think is interesting. All the Bob Baffert runners this year, this is the one that's actually going to make it to the Class A. Newgate came off of a layoff last time out, ran pretty well in the California Crown. Off of a layoff, kind of at one point looked like he was going to get there and win the race. He didn't, though. But again, he's another one that I think is interesting. And you're getting into like Newgate, Arthur's Ride. If you want to throw Ushba in there, if you want to throw a couple more that we're going to talk about here in a second in there, because the odds are, because the betting is going to be pretty heavy on those 3 horses, every one I just listed is going to be double digits. And I think that is truly fascinating in a race where you look at it, their best day can definitely beat these horses that are going to be lower odds than them. So it could be a bombs away classic if things don't go well and some of those question marks don't go the way of the horses that are going to get bet. Mixto is next. Horse won the Pacific Classic. It was not a great running of that race, but he did win it. That was a Challenge Series race, so we'll see if he can, kind of, he's going to be like 30-1, I would say. So we'll see if he can kind of pull another upset. Skippy Longstocking, hard trying horse, probably not of this caliber, but if he runs in the race, we'll see if he can get it done. And then you get down to Croupy. That's a kind of a horse that might hit the board at long odds. Pyrenees, kind of the same thing, hard trying type. So you get down to some of these, it's kind of hit or miss. Il Miracola, obviously a horse that's going to be a big long shot. And really the last couple that we'll talk about here, I'm going to save next. Hold on. I'll save that one for last. Let's talk about these last two first. Senor Buscador, he looks to kind of be off form. But he if he's ready to fire, he'll run his race. He'll come with a big run. So again, he's going to be a long price. If you want to try to put him in exotics, I wouldn't hate it. Of course, this horse won the Saudi Cup, ran very well at the Pegasus, ran very well in Dubai. He hasn't ran all that well since coming back, though. And then finally, Derma Sotogate, I jumped the gun earlier. This was a horse that did finish second last year in this race. And look, he definitely did not run well in his prep. He was there with Ushba Tesoro, and Derma Sotogate did not run well. But to me, this horse kind of runs well when you don't think he's going to. So I am not totally out on him because of that last effort. So he's an interesting one as well. And then finally, we'll cover next in the spot. We really don't know. If you don't know next, he's a horse that at dirt marathon distances has been winning by 15, 20 lengths in some of these races and just looking like a total beast. They have been very hesitant to try him in a big time race like this. They're debating between the Classic or trying the turf at 1.5 miles, thinking, hey, he's a marathon type, so maybe give up the surface, go a little bit longer. We don't know where he's going to go. He's a horse, though, that will definitely affect odds. I think if he's in the Classic, he might be like the fourth choice in the race, honestly, behind those three that we kind of talked about at the first. I don't know. I think the Classic makes a lot of sense for him. I wouldn't want to change surfaces with him, but he has been on the turf before. It's not my call. I'm not, whatever they want to do. I would try the Classic as me, but it's not. So, but if he's here, he's going to take money, and he should. And who knows? Maybe he can jump up and run that type of race against tougher competition. So, all right, that's kind of the field as it looks right now. I'll scroll back up here towards the top. At this very moment, the lean for me is Forever Young. I like his consistency, and I think that's something that that's just something that you can kind of fall back on. You kind of know he's going to run his race. I do think Fierceness, if he runs his best race, will be really tough to beat. I have a hard time with City of Troy right now. I'm going to really analyze him a lot more as we get closer to just really see, okay, is he going to enjoy this dirt? Because if he does, he's going to be tough. But I think we kind of know what Forever Young can do, and so I think Forever Young is going to be my pick, at least as of right now. So much can change. Don't hold me to it. Like I said, it's October 13th. And hey, I'll have a video the week of the race, and there won't be any discussion on, who did he pick, because it'll be right there for you. But I think the race sets up pretty good right now for Forever Young. All right, guys, that'll do it for our early look at the Breeders' Cup Classic. Just wanted to make this video and get it out there because I'm starting to get pretty excited. I think at first when I looked at this race, I said, this isn't very good. And then when you really dive into it, it's kind of cool that we have a truly international field. So this Breeders' Cup is going to be a lot of fun, and the Breeders' Cup Classic is going to be a big reason why. All right, guys, thanks everyone for watching this video. Hit the like button if you like it, subscribe. You really like it, want to get alerted anytime we do videos like this. And most importantly, just stay tuned to the channel here for more Breeders' Cup coverage.